the biggest thing I see is that imposter syndrome. Why am I here? I don't deserve to be here. Someone's going to find out and say, "Oh, hey, you, off you go. You should be here, mate." Or someone's going to say, you'll have that fear of failure. That what if? But one of the biggest things, I suppose, on the counter to that is experiencing and utilising that value of lifelong learning. As silly as it sounds, I look forward to failure.
Welcome to the Inside Business Analyst podcast. I'm your host, Tanner Jacobs, and today I am joined with Michael Glassock. Michael, how are you doing today?
Hi, Fando. Thanks for having me. I'm good. I'm well. I've gone to the gym. I've had a cold shower, so I'm firing. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, cold showers are an interesting start there. Do you do that purposefully?
The boiler didn't run out of heat. Don't worry. I stumbled upon. I'm very, very late to this. I'm well aware, but I stumbled upon, of course, the main man, Wim Hof, and kind of studied. I'm very much into that kind of meditation and self-care space, it interested me. So I tried it a couple of times. And yeah, my goodness, it's like having a shot of energy kind of injected into you. It's the first week or couple of weeks, don't get me wrong, are brutal.
Yep.
But I've now done it for probably 4 or 5 weeks. I do it every time I go to the gym. So I'm usually a bit warm anyway, come back. And yeah, I dare I say it, I almost look forward to, so I have a normal shower and in the last 60 seconds I'd transition into it. And I almost sadistically look forward to it now because I know how I'm going to feel after. So I would 100% recommend it to people. It's great, really good.
Yeah, no, that does sound, the way you're selling it to me right now, but tomorrow morning in the shower, I don't know how I'm going to feel. That's what I'm going to say about that.
I don't blame you. But nothing good comes easy. Well, in the majority of the sense, I'd say. But it definitely gives you a pep in your step. So yeah, give it a go, Founder. Give it a go.
Great. I'll give it. I would attempt the cold shower route, and then we'll see what happens. So Michael, just before we jump into our chat today, just briefly tell us, a bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Perfect, thank you. So, my name's Michael Glassock. I'm a career and confidence coach that specialises in supporting people in their 20s and 30s to transition careers. So through my own experience and other bits and bobs, I experienced a phenomenon called the quarter-life crisis, which is when people go through a realisation of where they currently are in their jobs and where they've kind of ended up there. I'm happy to kind of expand on that later, but I went through that kind of situation and realised, there must be more to this life. What can I give and how can I help others? And that's when I went through a big dark hole of self-development, podcasts, and stumbled upon a podcast by Stephen Bartlett with a chap called Jordan Peterson, who's a clinical psychologist, I believe. And from all of those self-development routes, I went into coaching. And in last year, I built on those kind of formal skills by becoming an ICF approved coach. So I kind of adhere by a formal structure when coaching clients. I always say, like, my goal and my vision really is to wake up with the sole focus to help inspire people to do what inspires them. And for me, that's what kind of gets me up in the morning and puts a smile on my face.
Yeah, big vision, massive vision there. And actually, to your experience, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have a chat with you today, because this podcast, I guess we focus primarily on like business analysis profession, but I feel like confidence is something that every person needs in their careers, and particularly as business analysts, in our roles, confidence plays a huge part in what we do. And so as a confidence coach, I just wanted to pick your brain around confidence and all this other stuff. But before you went into like this coaching journey, what were you doing before that?
Yeah, so I kind of graduated from the University of Essex. I initially took accounting and finance because I thought, let's just chase the money. Let's get kind of stability and get a financially prosperous career. And obviously it's easy to look back with hindsight. But in the second year, thankfully, regardless of the business discipline, you could swap your degree in the second year. So I swapped to business management because I have a fascination of people. Surprise, surprise. And I kind of left there, went into some financial administration companies, joined some other bits in terms of the art sector, so helping kind of footfall and growing presence. And also kind of ended up in the healthcare space, health and social care space around project management, where I would deliver projects that I would say really affected thousands of patients' lives. So I've had a bit of a kind of varied career in the short span that it is. But the one common theme throughout every single job and role I had was my love to help people. And the thing I enjoyed the most, regardless of if it was within financial administration, whether it's within project management, my biggest thing is how can I help people to become the best versions of themselves and inherently can I go towards a joint goal, like align our goals and align our vision of where we want to head. And for me, that is also kind of project management in a nutshell. You know, you've got various stakeholders from senior to operational staff, and it's aligning people's aspirations and vision to a joint goal in terms of a project to kind of get to that space. So I always had that niggling need to kind of help support people. And it's in the last couple of years, you know, also when you're a team manager, you get that opportunity in one-to-ones where you kind of help develop staff. But that niggling need has grown and grown and grown to the point when I really realised, actually, wouldn't it be good just to focus on that full time? That's like my sole purpose and sole goal. So that hence my kind of transition into this coaching space.
Yeah, no, lovely, and your passion really comes through there, and I think it's a beautiful thing, you know, to helping people because you to see the difference you make in people's lives and the ways that you help them, and you know, being able to kind of receive that gratitude and that thanks back from them is just like nothing compares to that, does it? And I think helping people is definitely a top value of mine. So I completely agree.
Yeah.
So thinking about confidence then, which is kind of like the main thing I wanted to dive into. You know, in our professions, as I say, everybody needs confidence, right? We need confidence at some level, in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's confidence to apply for the jobs,
Yep.
whether that's confidence to challenge stakeholders, confidence to lead a team, confidence when like running a project, doing a presentation. You know, all of these things will challenge the level of confidence that we have in these environments. So kind of thinking from that perspective, because you basically, you know, you said you're a career and confidence coach. So clearly confidence is a big deal.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I completely agree with all you said. And even at the beginning, like you said, regardless of your discipline, regardless of your industry, confidence is that leveler. It applies to everywhere, every job, every role. Um, and I think it's incredibly important. And you could even, you know, you could even relate it to relationships. It's important to be full and complete in yourself. You know, I don't believe in perfect. I think we're always on a journey of developing and learning. It's important to be confident in yourself before you go and seek others, and because you don't want to seek others to fill that gap, I suppose. I think you want to be confident in yourself before you go and support others, whether it's job interviews, whether it's leading projects, whether it's relationships. So I have a real kind of importance on it, and I think in terms of transitioning careers, especially. I mean, my goodness, you need to, you know, that you're going to feel so many self doubts and limiting beliefs. So that's why the confidence piece is inherent with that career transition and career development. Um, but for me, the starting point, and this applies to many things apart from confidence, is you need to define your version of success because you've just said it there. You've listed, you know, could be applying for a job, could be simply getting out of bed in the morning, could be leading a vast project affecting 10,000 people across the whole region. What is your version of success? Because my version of confidence in terms of success might be completely different to yours or your listeners. So for me, with coaching, the main coaching principles is always focusing on where you are and where you want to get to, and then coaching, guiding, supporting, and challenging you to get to that place. So I always say, what's your version of success? And then let's work towards that state.
I see. So you're tying. It's not just be confident for confidence sake. It's actually tying confidence into the thing that you're you're valuing almost, and saying, okay, this is what the thing that matters to me,
And,
and therefore tie my confidence to that, rather than just simply saying, be confident,
yeah, yeah. I mean, crikey! If only it was that simple. I mean, yeah, exactly. But I think, yeah. I mean, a lot of the kind of the work I do around coaching is very much centered around values. So it's a values based approach. And you mentioned values just then earlier. So I think for me to understand your values, your passion, your interests, these are the things that really drive you intrinsically. So from inside, these are the things that drive you, not what society says or what your mum says or what your friends say. So for me to drive confidence to a wider purpose, a wider meaning of life is much more powerful, because when the times are tough, when you have that period of, oh, I don't feel uncomfortable, I feel uncomfortable, sorry, you're tying it to a wider meaning, a wider purpose, and that allows you to continue on that journey. And for me, that's why, so I suppose my values are kind of fulfillment, freedom, integrity, and lifelong learning. And what I try and do is everything that happens in life, I kind of do it for that filter and say, right, is it ticking off these values? If it is, it's worth the short-term struggle, it's worth the challenge, and I'll continue to do this. And that's why I think it's important to tie that confidence to a wider meaning, a wider value.
Yeah. And just really briefly or quickly, how did you come up with your values? Those are strong values.
Yeah.
Um, but I imagine you kind of put some work in. You didn't just wake up today and feel, yep, these are my values, kind of thing. You probably had to uncover these over time. What kind of process do you normally take people through to at least have an idea of, okay, my value is this?
100%. Yeah, really, yeah. No, again, if I just woke up and this is me. I'm ready to go. Let's go, guys. No. Unfortunately, it wasn't as easy as that. I suppose, firstly, before I kind of say how I personally found my values and how I kind of take my clients through that process, it's important to know your values can change throughout your life. It's not. I'm the tender age of 27, 28 next month. God willing, when I'm kind of 50, 60, 70, my values may inherently change. And that's important to know as well. And that's absolutely fine. So I think that's an important point to kind of stress. But for me, so I have a small kind of workbook, which is 8 to 10 pages. And there's various ways to kind of understand your values. And it won't happen overnight. So this is a self-awareness journey. But I have what I call is a values bank. So a bank of words that will kind of relate to various different aspects of your life. And I challenge clients, and I did the same process myself, where I go through the values bank and what words stand out for you. Now, there'll be certain things. I had 3 or 4 around integrity, trust, loyalty, and I kept circling all the ones. They're all kind of related. And I thought, this is an obvious element to a strong value that I hold. So once you do that, you go for that values bank, take it from, let's say, 40, 50 words to roughly 10, 20. It's then grouping it up, just like I said, some of those 20 words you arrive at. So I had trust, integrity, loyalty. I thought, okay, this is inherently a strong value of mine. Of these words, they all kind of talk to the same point. What's the one word that speaks to me most? And integrity is by far and beyond the one that kind of speaks to me. I like to be known as someone, if you give me something to do, I will follow through and do it. And in terms of lifelong relationships and trust and loyalty, all of that to me speaks through the value of integrity. So and then I go through, once I have an understanding of, right now I'm down to, let's say, 5 or 6 words. I then prioritize. I chat, and this is the really hard bit. I prioritize people to say, what's the strongest value of all the ones you've kind of arrived at? And then okay, if you only could have one of these 6, what would it be? Perfect. Okay, now the second one, the third one, the fourth one. And for me, there's no right or wrong, but for me, 3 or 4 values is around the right level. I think, obviously, like I said, integrity could mean 10 different words in terms of semantics, but 3 or 4 is a really good foundation. And what you'll find is a bit like when you think of a yellow car and then in the next 2 weeks you see 10 yellow cars.
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand those 3 or 4 values, your life, if you have that self-awareness and your life experiences, you'll soon realize how that relates to you. So all of a sudden, when I had, right, integrity is my value, I'll be put into like a difficult, semi-difficult situation, say something stupid like I finished the supermarket, I don't get charged for an item or something like that. And it'll pick off in my brain. I go, hang on a minute. I do believe in. I'm not too wishy washy, but I do believe in karma, and I do believe helping other people, and that will just like spike a little interest in me. And I think that's interesting. How did that make me feel? So the biggest thing for me is this is a lifelong journey. You know, you won't wake up even from doing that exercise. That's it. I've got my 4 values. I'm set for life. But it will start that self-awareness journey. And once you understand what those values are, that's how you can then filter your life to say, okay, this new job I'm going to do, how does it align to this? Okay, this new element of building confidence in terms of delivering a massive project, how can I make sure that aligns to my values? And it's almost a compass, the golden compass for how you live your life.
Mm. Do you know what? That's a very key point. Tying your values to our jobs and our careers. I don't think we do that quite a bit. I think in the nature of like work, I guess we get so embedded with company values that at times we don't even think about our own personal values and what we want out of our careers or our jobs in the workplace. And I think that's such a powerful sort of mindset shift to just have a moment to think, okay, what is it that I value, and then how does that tie in with with my work and my career, and is there alignment with that, or is there some sort of mismatch there, and I need to reassess my situation, and you know the reason why I'm saying one of these things because I kind of went through a similar situation, and for me, one of my uh, biggest values, again, this took me a long time to really understand this, but one of my biggest values is when it comes to that work and careers is continuous learning and development. I feel like if I don't learn or grow or develop a skill or knowledge or specialist knowledge in a domain or whatever the case is, then I don't feel like that particular job is giving me or ticking that box in the value section.
Yeah.
And that's something that took me a while to really understand, to really understand that I prioritize that when I am looking at the jobs I'm doing, when I'm considering job offers, maybe, or even should I apply for this job? I kind of always think to myself, actually, am I going to learn anything with this role? Am I going to be pushed to grow and develop in an area? And then, to be fair, now I see the link because then if that box is ticked, then that then gives me the confidence to apply for that job, or at
Yes.
least it gives me the confidence to say, yes, I want to take on this project because it ticks all the right values for me.
Yeah, and that I mean, I'm nodding away like a nodding dog as you're talking to me because one of my values is lifelong learning. So and that's why coaching appeals to me so much because you can never be perfect. Even when I'm old and grey at the age of 80, I guarantee I will still learn things that I can help other people with, and that really
Mm,
excites me. And it's not even
mm,
professional sense. Like I think about it personally. So I'm a massive lover of sport, and one of the sports I enjoy the most is playing golf. Now, you can never be perfect at golf. You can always learn. You can go out to your 70, 80 and always learn new things. So that's why I say these values are so intrinsic because they apply to all aspects of life. And when I
yeah,
realised that with kind of golf, I was thinking, I'm absolutely obsessed with this and I have no idea why. Once you kind of a bit of self-reflection, you think, it's because I can always improve, I can always get better, I can always kind of grow. That, the only person I'm fighting against is me.
yeah,
I'm just challenging myself. So values are, you can clearly see, sorry, how important I feel values are to all aspects of life, and how it can just affect personal sense as well as professional sense as well.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So, in your experience, then, from the clients that you've kind of worked with, and even just maybe your personal journey as well, what would you say are some of the main things that kill our confidence, particularly in the workplace and or with careers and jobs and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the common obstacles are always usually related to either imposter syndrome or fear of failure.
Mm,
So like I've experienced this many times. So if I'm doing like a speaking event like this, or going to appear to do a radio interview to promote my kind of company, um, you might think, crikey, if I mess up a word, how many people are listening? What will people think of me? And all the rest of it. So that fear of failure kind of paralyzes you at an early state, and then puts you into almost a negative frame of mind. And this is where you hear terms like negative self-talk and, oh, I'm rubbish, I can't do this, no one likes me, all the rest of it. And I can't remember the exact term, but there's a common thing that's been researched around. It's called the spotlight theory. I can't remember the exact term, and it's how we always think we're on a spotlight. Everyone's looking at us like we're front stage or centre at the West End, and everyone's kind of staring at us. Whereas seldom people do. So if you think about it, when you look at other people when they're doing a speech and stuff like that, just put yourselves in their shoes. You might think, oh, they did all right. And then after about 5 minutes, you completely forget half it. You might remember how they made you feel, but you forget what they said. They might have had a little stumble, but you completely forget about it. But why do we do that with ourselves? It's a fascinating kind of idea, and it's all to do with the mindset. So the biggest thing I see is that imposter syndrome. Why am I here? I don't deserve to be here. Someone's going to find out and say, oh, hey, you, off you go. You should be here, mate. Or someone's going to say, you'll have that fear of failure, that, what if? But one of the biggest things, I suppose, on the counter to that, and this doesn't happen overnight, and I kind of want to express that, is experiencing and utilising that value of lifelong learning, and that kind of growth mindset, I would say. So as silly as it sounds, I try my hardest, and I don't do this all the time, but I look forward to failure. Because when I look back on my life, and it's granted I'm not the oldest in the world, but I look back on my life, the biggest failures I've had have been my biggest points of learning. And I think if I hadn't had those failures, I would be, regressed. I'd be in a small little box. I wouldn't have done half the things I've done now. So when I embrace that mindset, and you think, how bad was it really when I had that stumble in the mic, or I popped up the wrong presentation slide, or I missed a line on my Gantt chart for my project plan. How bad was it? Well, it just made me, okay, I now put different processes in place. I now have a better template. I now have greater confidence in the delivery and rehearsal of my material. All of these failures have made me learn and made me get to the person I am today. And I just think if you speak to anybody, I like to learn from other people's failures. And that's why in the project management space, you've got things like a lessons log, which I think is like your golden material to learn from past projects. For me, I love to seek other people's failures, including myself, because that's where you learn and that's where you really grow. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's definitely a mindset shift. And I still have fear of failure. I'm not saying I'm perfect. But every time I embrace that and think about that last time you failed, and like how far you've grown and how far you've learned from that place, it just energizes me, because I'm either going to smash it or learn. So either way, I can't lose. So that's my mindset when it comes to that.
Yeah. And I think, to your point, those two are probably the biggest ones as well in my mind. Fear of failure, imposter syndrome. I think if I'm to not necessarily to I don't know, to dumb them down, but it's all of those things are really in our heads almost, and then we kind of dampen our own confidence. I think don't get me wrong, there are situations maybe where you're working in an environment where people, would say things to you that would make you question what you do and then make you feel less confident.
Yeah.
But to your point, the majority of the times, or one of the biggest factors, is what we think in our own heads, or what we say to ourselves, or the way we perceive that spotlight effect that you mentioned. I think
Yeah.
it's actually quite a true point. You kind of feel like I am the star of my show, kind of thing, and
Yes.
everyone is looking at me. But really and truly, maybe an interview is the only time that is the case. But outside of that, it's probably just, as you said, after you've kind of done your speech or you've done your presentation, people just kind of move on, don't they?
They do.
Um,
They do. That's
yeah.
it. And the thing what you just kind of highlighted there, which I think is important, is granted there's situations that fall out of that, but how exciting is that to know that these things are actually under your control? So especially if you're a bit of a control freak, and I think every project manager is a control freak. They're definitely like, no. Where's my plan? Where's my risk register? Where's this? But I think for me, like, that's liberating to think that actually all of this is within my control. And the one thing I'll quickly say is when people challenge you and say they tell you negative things, and it's not easy, and I still doubt myself, and I'm grateful I have a supportive network, including my fiance and others. But I think, what does that say about them? So rather than challenging it and thinking, oh, I feel this, oh, I must be rubbish, what does that say about them for them to have said that statement to me? Where are they? How are they feeling? And again, it's hard because you are emotive, you have an emotive reaction. But after that 5 seconds, that emotive reaction, that's what I really try to do. I go, what place are they speaking from, and what does that say about them? And that allows me to be more logical. Think, I understand the situation they're in. Say it's a line manager, they're under pressure from their boss and all the rest of it. I'm going to do what I know I can do. I'm going to support them in the way they need supporting, and ultimately we can get to the place we want to be. So don't always internalize kind of comments and when people snap at you, I would say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I think about my career journey, I've noticed that I've had to, and I think you touched on this earlier actually, kind of had to intentionally build my confidence in certain situations. But when I kind of quickly think about it now, I think it's always when something new has come up. So whether that's a new job, a new project, I'm starting on a new team, got a promotion, whatever the case is, or transitioning into a new career even, and all of these shifts, should I say, kind of require you to then rebuild almost your confidence, or at least focus on, actually, let me become a bit more confident and make sure that I know what I'm doing and know what's happening. Are there any specific tips or habits, should I say, that you'd give to someone who's in a similar situation, like they're going through some sort of shift, something new has come up, and they feel like maybe they might lose their confidence if they're not intentional about it? What would you say to that person?
Definitely. So we spoke loads about mindset and all the rest of it, but now I want to get a bit more practical and a bit more tangible for people to kind of take away. And the biggest thing I can say is be strategic about it. So that depending on the example, we can really kind of go wherever. But for a certain example, if it's a new project that you've been asked to do that you don't have much experience in, I would be strategic around. So let's say who's part of that project team. So is there people, previous projects you've done, that you've worked with certain clinicians or technical expertise, whoever they are, you have a really good bond with them, they have insight into that area, can they be part of the project team? Now, straight away, by having that team around you, every good company, in my mind, is just a recruitment company. You're just recruiting the best talent and the best people to rely on to do and deliver that job. So as that project manager, think of yourself as a CEO. You're creating that project team. You're building a people of expertise, people you've probably got good networks and contacts with, so you can rely on them. And then that will allow you, first and foremost, to have a good little base level of confidence, because I know, right, I've got a really good BA in Fando. He's going to smash that. I don't have to worry. That builds my confidence for that level of the project. I've got a really good copywriter or legal expert that have a good network, and I've had good contacts with previous projects. That's great. So just building that culture, that's the first and foremost. That's really good. And that will inevitably lead to open communication. So when issues arise, you can allow that open communication. Don't feel like it's pointing the finger. If you've got good contacts, that's going to allow you to address issues there and then, rather than letting a project go down the line and then something pops up and you go, crikey, we could have solved this 2-3 months ago. So that's the first thing to get that base level confidence. The second thing is, if there's a project, if you have the fortuitous kind of luck that it's going to happen in 2-3 months' time, is there small things you can be doing now to build to that state? So is it a recce of kind of operational sites? Is it meeting clinical teams to understand the problems and issues they're facing right now? It's those small wins that you can allow to build up the resilience, build up the confidence to when you get to that big project and off we go, we have to crack on. And I think when I think back to when I kind of grew up the ranks, I'm obviously focusing on a project management space. You become an administrator, a project manager, you've got program managers, various different titles. I always used to try and upskill myself and take on extra tasks and activities from others all the time. So it comes back to your point and your value of lifelong learning. You don't wait till a new project's been given to you and then you rush around like a bull in the china shop, as my dad say. You kind of embrace that lifelong learning. So regardless of where you are, you're taking on, right, what does my project manager do? If I'm an administrator, what does my project manager do? What do they do differently to what I do? If you want to go down this space, of course, how can I upskill myself to that place? What templates do they do? How do they carry out meetings? How can I embody certain things? Can I say, okay, at the next meeting, Fando, is it all right if I just lead that, a segment of the meeting, even if it's 10 minutes of a half-hour meeting? And that will allow you to get on the horse and build that confidence. So when you get to that state and you're like, okay, you've got a project for 6 months, you'll be leading the whole thing, you've got that experience in the bank that you can kind of rely on. So it's all about, for me, it's all about small wins. It's the marginal gains. You've got atomic habits. It's all about those small little steps you can take. So then when you get to a space, you're in a proactive place. But if it is dropped upon you, use your network. Is there key people with key expertise I can rely on that allows me to feel confident in delivering this job? And is there people who have have they delivered various projects that are similar? What was their lessons? Have they got a lesson log? Can I learn from that? So it's really been strategic around your network. And I think always being proactive. Don't wait till you're put into a situation when you've got to run around and kind of resolve it. Try and get to that place where you're upskilling, you're being self-aware of your gaps, and kind of getting to a point where when the project or when a different situation arises, you won't be perfect, because we never are, but you'll have at least a bit of experience to allow you to kind of go forward in that area. That for me, my personal experience, has really, really helped me going forward.
Yeah, no, you know what? That's such a top class answer, I'd say. But it's such a really, really strategic approach. In the project world, I think I'm a big believer that people is what wins the project, is what helps to drive the project forward. Our roles as business analysts is a big part of our role anyway. Is stakeholder engagement and stakeholder management, which is kind of like, that's the corporate language of basically saying what you've just said. Recruit the people around you who they know what they're doing, and they give you the confidence to kind of feel like, yeah, I can trust the information they give me. If I ask them a question and they answer that question, I know for a fact that they know what they're talking about. And if they tell me to go one way, I'm not going to question that, because I trust, and I have the confidence in them. And because I have the confidence in them, that then in turn gives me the confidence to do what I'm doing. And it's just like this snowball effect of, people connecting together and then being confident with each other. And I think that's it's actually such a powerful point, but also such a point that I think many people don't pay a lot of attention to. I think we kind of think of like, I guess, the stakeholder engagement piece. We kind of think of that as, so and so does that, so and so does that. I'm doing this, and I need to make sure I'm doing my job really well. And then we think of it as like, oh, what's the best way to communicate with my stakeholders? Should I send an email? Should I do a meeting? That kind of thing. But actually, there's like, behind all of that, there should be that level of confidence and trust to say we are all working together here, and building something as a team. So I really like that, the way you framed it. It's actually really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Do you so it obviously, coaching experience as a career and confidence coach. I'm curious to kind of know, because obviously most people may say I'm a career coach. Or even I'm a confidence coach. I've never come across any, but I'm sure there are some out there.
Yeah.
But you've kind of branded yourself as career and confidence. So clearly there is a strong link between the two of them. So do you I'm going to guess the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you think the lack of confidence affects your career?
Yes. Yeah. No. So I think there's loads of reasons how it will affect your career, but it's not going out of your comfort zone is, for me, is the biggest thing. So we don't all need to be CEOs, we don't all need to be XYZ, but it's just getting out your box, getting out your comfort zone, and trying new things. And we've related it to all the things we said around the fear of failure and all the rest of it, and how actually stepping out your comfort zone can give you your greatest learnings and your greatest insights. But for me, that career transition and career development, but especially when you're transitioning careers, it's a really messy time. You can kind of lack confidence in, where are you? Where's my life? Where's my direction? And I think confidence is one of that constant thing you need to build on. And it could be the small practical things I've said that are a bit strategic. It could be more mindset issues to kind of allow you to keep along that journey, keep gaining self-awareness. But I think if you have a lack of confidence, it can really hurt your career prospects and how you develop in terms of your journey. And that's why I was very intentional, pardon me, in terms of it kind of having a dual role in terms of that career and confidence piece. Because I think in order to really excel into the career aspect, confidence inherently has to be addressed, as well as self-awareness. Where are my areas of development? What's my passions and all the rest of it? And if you can channel into some of those passions and those interests, it's quite funny. All of a sudden, confidence will come along, because if you're doing something you truthfully believe in and you have a strong vision in, then you don't feel like you're selling it. You don't feel like you're faking it. You just feel like, of course, this is what the world needs to hear. And this is what my job and my life purpose is to do and to deliver. And inherently, confidence will flow along with that.
No, I love it. So just to paint a bit more color in what you do then. So there might be someone listening to this saying, okay, great, you're a career and confidence coach. I kind of could guess what you do,
Yeah.
but what do you actually do?
Yeah, I love it. Love it. I like those kind of questions. So what I do is I often take people through a journey, and it's very specific to the person, because obviously not one career transition is the same. Not in terms of what person's confidence journey is not the same. But the two main aspects I focus on is if it's usually a career transition, so changing roles, and they have that realization that I'm stuck where I am. I want to kind of go to something that's more inherent to what I actually enjoy, what I want to do with my life. And in that sense, I always focus, the starting point is values. So I go through a process of identifying that person's values. What are the key things that intrinsically motivate them in their life? And I think that's a really good point to start. Then we go through various things like what's their interests, what's their passion, what's their life purpose, what's the thing. It's a very, it can be a humbling experience, but it's a really good activity called the gravestone exercise, where you imagine what you would like to be written on your gravestone. And for me, it was a loving and caring father, son, and husband that always sought to help others. So for me, that gravestone exercise kind of channels where whatever I do, I want to be present. I want to be helpful to my family and loving and supportive. And I want to live my life supporting and caring for others. So that really channels where my career paths and my career direction. So that's a good one for your life purpose. So once, and it's great. So okay, I've got my values, Michael. Thank you. I've got my life purpose. I know what my interests are. I know what my passions are through reflective questions. You then apply this to the business reality. So I think there's a model. I think it's called Ikigai. It's like a Venn diagram of like kind of saying, I know what my passions and interests are. I know what my strengths are. What can I get paid for? Because inherently, if I want to make this my career, it needs to put some dollar in my pocket. So once you have that business reality, I call it, and understand where you want to kind of pursue in terms of career, you can then get into the action plan. Okay, so I want to be a coach. Okay, first and foremost, what does a coach actually do? I like the idea of it, but what's their day-to-day roles? Is there people I can reach out to on LinkedIn? Can I go into social media, YouTube, a day in the life of a coach? Can I ask them questions to understand what their day-to-day role is? And what you'll find, and I've done it with many people my clients have, if you reach out to people on LinkedIn, let's say, people are more than happy to share their knowledge and their expertise, because one, it makes them feel good. They feel like they're an expert. They feel like they're able to help others. And it allows you to get the real life reality of what the role entails, which is really good to find out early doors before you really put in that, the work towards it. So that once you get, okay, I know what I want to do. I now like the sound of the role. Okay, how am I going to go to kind of get towards that place? Is there education, qualification gaps, areas of development? Is there skills that inherently transfer from my current role that can apply to that? And that's when you go for a real kind of action plan. I almost act as what I would call like an accountability partner to kind of say, right, what are you going to do this week? What are you going to do this month to kind of move step by step towards that goal? And it might take 3 months, it might take 6 months. But I would rather take the time in a world where we pursue quick wins with crypto and all the rest of it, quick money, quick wins. I would rather take the time to find a career and get to the place I want to do, because I might be there till I'm 60, 70, 80. And for me, I forget about retirement age. I want to do something that I can do for the rest of my life, whether it's a day a week when I'm 75 or whatever it is. So that's why I like to take that extra couple of months in the initial place to get to where I want to be. So that's my kind of, as an overview of my pathway I take people down. And inherently, if people aren't looking for that career transition, they're more looking just to focus in on confidence. We go for a lot of the things we've been speaking about today, kind of defining your version of success. Where's the place you want to get to? What are the common obstacles and barriers? Is it limiting beliefs? Is it fear of failure? Unpicking that. What's the worst that can happen? What's the best that can happen? Just those two contrasts can have a massive breakthrough. So those are the two aspects I really focus on. And like I said, everyone's journey is unique. But I feel like as a coach, I can guide, challenge, and support you to kind of reach that place.
Yeah, no, the strong word there, Michael, and I really appreciate you breaking that down because, as I said, it's not a common. Well, I guess it's not a job from that perspective where there's a job description and this is what career confidence coach does. But actually, the value you're bringing to people's lives is very powerful. So I want to commend you for that, and also just highlight that careers are play such a big part in our lives that it's understandable that at times you might want to switch careers, or even there's times where you might need to put your hand up and say, actually, yeah, I'd like to just talk to somebody about it, and then someone like yourself who's in that coaching perspective can then help them to have these conversations that maybe in the mindset thinking about switching careers, or they have switched careers but they've got doubts around the decisions that they've made. And there's a whole host of issues that come with careers that I think it's such a powerful thing that you're essentially focusing your energy and your time to support people in this journey of their careers. So if people do want to reach out to you, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yes. So simply Michael Glassock on LinkedIn. So that's Glassock, Michael Glassock. And then on all social medias, Michael Glassock Coaching. So you'll find me on Instagram, find me on LinkedIn, and you'll find my website, which is simply michaelglassockcoaching.com.
Awesome. I'll put all the links in the description anyhow for all of the things you just said. So before I close off, Michael, I really definitely want to thank you for being on. It's been such a fun conversation to have with you, and very insightful in many different ways. And I think there's a lot that I've myself have taken away from this, and you've changed my perspective on certain things as well. Any last words for the people listening based on what we've spoken about today?
Yeah, no. Firstly, just to say as well, thank you for having me, Fando. It's been a pleasure kind of knowing you, and a pleasure to kind of appear on your podcast. So thank you very much. All the best to you. And just to say to people, I think think about the time you spend in a career and the people you work with. It's actually scary in terms of a lifetime how you do that. And I think if you can find your purpose and you can find what motivates you and gets you out of bed in the morning, I mean, how much you can pass not just down to yourself and your own life experience, but how much you can pass on to your friends, your family, and your children. And that's the reason for my why. I want to pursue what inspires people. And because through that experience and that process, I can help inspire my children in the future. So do what's important for you because you are important.
Love it, Michael. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fando.